Odin is Indra. Here's why, and we'll dive right into it. Alright? However, first, we must ask the question. Who is the king of the gods? Alright? This will be a question that will permeate throughout this video. We have to be honest about this if we are to arrive to Soth, or forgive me, Sooth. That is truth with a capital T from Old English Soth. And the distinction here is that Soth in Old English refers to that which is absolutely true. Like water is wet, fire is hot, etc., etc. 1 + 1 = 2. Right? So if we are to arrive at Sooth, truth with a capital T, we have to ask the question in a different way. Rather, who occupies that post or office of King of the Gods? Right? Again, we have to be honest about this. Because king is a post or office or position, if you will. A rank, if you will. And who is of the gods? Moving right on. So, among the Greeks, he is called Zeus. Among the Romans, he's called Jupiter. Among the Slavs, he's called Patron. Forgive me for my bad pronunciation, but here we are. When we look at the literatures of these cultures, what do we find? Well, we find that among these people, that among their literatures, within the literatures, not mythology. We're not going to call this mythology because mythology is not a nice term that Abrahamists like to throw around just to denigrate pre-Christian culture and spirituality. So anyway, among the Greeks, it's Zeus. Among the Romans, Jupiter. Among the Slavs, Perun. However, among the Germanic sources, we have the Prose Edda by Snorri Sturluson. And in there, we have, forgive me for my bad pronunciation in Old Norse. I'm an Old English guy, West Germanic languages. I mostly deal with that. I mean, I dabble in some Old Norse here and there, but really, it's not my main thing. But anyway, let's read on. Thor Malir Thriði Odin Utstr och Eldstur Assana Han Rather Ölum Hlutum Ox That V there could actually be pronounced as a W, depending how old I want to make my pronunciation, possibly. But for sake of simplicity, I'll just pronounce it as a W, as if I'm an Anglo-Saxon, reading this old. Anyway, so Swa Sam Önur Uden, forgive me, Eru Mattug Thor Theona Honum Öl Swa Sam Burn Further. And here's a translation by Arthur Gilchrist Broder. Then said Thridi, Odin is highest and eldest of the Aesir. He rules all things, and mighty as are the other gods. They all serve him as children obey a father. So what does this suggest? This suggests that, well, Odin has the post of king. So there we have it. From the GYLFAGINNING. This is from the Prose Edda, from the GYLFAGINNING, right there. From the Norse literature, we can see that. Okay, so this is the king of the gods, so to speak. And this is important because Woden in Old English is the cognate to Odin. So Woden and Odin, it's essentially we're talking about the same personality. Just the only distinction here is language. So this is something to bear in mind. And this is going to prove that, or highly prove that Odin or Woden is in fact a relic depiction of Lord Indra from the Vedic Tradition or Sanatana Dharma, and we're going to look at some Anglo-Saxon sources. So from the Anglo-Saxon Maxims I, from the Woden stanza, we have Woden workte Wales, Woder alwalda, Ruma roderas. Well, this is a translation I've done myself. Well, Woden worked of a sacred place. Wales could. I have a whole video discussing this translation at great depth, but for sake of simplicity, I'm going to go with sacred place. Definitely something sacred. Woden worked of a sacred place, glory, all-powerful one, spacious upper regions. That is a powerful god. So this is very interesting of itself. And later it says that he, us, all bestowed all that we live in, so to speak. And like, so in other words, Woden is very powerful. And this stanza supports the Norse excerpt, and the important thing here is that that the association with upper regions is associated with Woden, right? And the word rodaras, you could translate it as skies or heavens, and so that's something to bear in mind. And so we had to have that association. So, but then moving on to our second example, which is a more interesting one, to be honest. From the Nine Herbs Charm in the Woden stanza, we have an instance of a worm sneaking. And the translation here is not by me, but by a man named Felix Grendon. He translates Woldertannas as thunderbolts and struck the serpent. So we have the same sort of thing in the Vedic sources, which we'll go into in a bit, or just talk about very briefly, actually. So yeah, we have this notion of Woden being all powerful, slaying a snake, and it's interesting because though the literal translation is glory twigs, and the Nine Herbs Charm is about plants and fighting poisons and whatnot, but since we're talking within the context of a powerful god who's associated with upper regions, it would make sense to translate this within the context of the god, this as thunderbolts, right? So this is all well and good, because this is very much interesting. So just to recap, that from the Anglo-Saxon sources, we have Maxim I, Woden associated with upper regions, and by extension, a powerful god, etc., etc. The Nine Herbs Charm, Woden wields thunderbolts, slays a serpent. And then in Norse sources, in GYLFAGINNING, Odin, and Woden is the highest, eldest among the Aesir, rules all things, other deities serve him. And then, very briefly, like a small overview of Indra. He is the king of Svarga, king of heaven, king of the Devas, and the Devas are the gods, wielder of the thunderbolts, or thunderbolt, Vajra. And from the literature, we see that he slays a Vitra Asura, a serpent. So we have the same thing going on, where the serpent slaying, wielding of thunderbolts, having the post of king of the gods, being the ruler of heaven, like, I don't have it here, but from the Norse literature, and this is common knowledge to anyone who studied this stuff, that Odin is the ruler of Asgard. That's where all the gods live. So that's something to bear in mind. So having said all this from the Anglo-Saxon sources, and this is something that's not really brought up about. I may be among the few that's actually saying this. To mention the Anglo-Saxon sources that actually support the fact that Woden or Odin is in fact Indra. So there you have it, folks. I hope this video was interesting in some shape or form, and from all this we can conclude that Odin is in fact Indra. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. And if you really like the channel, please become a patron at my Patreon page down below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.